It's early July. Right now, if you look at my campaign from the outside, you might think it's little more than a curious blip. A janitor in Red Wing, running for the Minnesota State House, operating alone, outfunded and outorganized by every traditional metric. On paper, I'm facing a multi-term incumbent who is everything I'm not, entrenched, resourced, and backed by the comfort of a machine that expects to keep running unchallenged. I know exactly what it looks like. That's the point. This moment, right now, is what I call the deceptive phase. Not deceptive in the sense of trickery or dishonesty, but in the sense of how exponential growth always appears in its earliest moments. The Silicon Valley types draw it as the hockey stick. Slow, imperceptible gains that suddenly explode into visibility. But under the surface, that compounding has been happening the whole time, quietly, invisibly, gathering mass. No one notices because there's nothing to see, yet. The campaign is present, but it hasn't revealed its true shape. My followers grow every day, engagement quietly compounds, and the narrative builds gravity, like a star accreting dust. This is not an accident. This is strategy. It's what Sun Tzu meant when he said, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. My one-man operation, my lack of noise, my seemingly amateur campaign, they are not liabilities. They are camouflage, buying me time and space to build momentum without interference, to set the stage before the audience realizes the play has begun. There's a deeper principle at work here. In Taoist philosophy, it's called Wu Wei, effortless action. Wu Wei is not passivity. It's the art of aligning yourself with the current of events so your actions become indistinguishable from the flow of the world. You do nothing unnecessary. You don't force. You cultivate conditions, plant seeds, and let compounding do what compounding does. It's the opposite of frantic, consultant-driven politics. This is politics as patient gardening, letting narrative and trust take root beneath the surface. By the time the world notices, the garden is already in bloom. From December 2024 through the summer of 2025, this has been my posture. I've shared my philosophy, laid out my policy framework, and built trust, not with spectacle, but with rigor and consistency. I don't chase headlines or pick fights. I build foundations. My opponents, if they think of me at all, see me as a non-threat. They see a janitor with grand ideas and no organization. That's the misdirection. That's the deceptive phase in action. But October is coming. October is the disruptive trigger. That's when the compounding goes kinetic, when all the trust, clarity, and narrative gravity built over the past year finally bursts into view as the fundraising campaign launches. I expect that to be the moment when the entire ecosystem tilts. People who have been quietly following, watching, and thinking will suddenly have a reason to act, to move, to commit. That first surge of momentum is not just money. It's proof of inevitability. It's the public debut of a movement that's been building in the dark, waiting for its moment. Here's where the strategy pivots. After the disruptive trigger, I don't charge headlong into battle. I don't start trading blows with the incumbent. Instead, I shift into what I call the deceptive feint. This is Sun Tzu by way of Buckminster Fuller. Don't waste energy fighting the old order. Make it obsolete by building the new. The feint is about pulling back just enough to let the opposition underestimate you, to let them think you've shot your shot and are spent. All the while, beneath the surface, I'm using that war chest to lay the real groundwork, building out my campaign, recruiting talent, deepening connections, and fortifying my base. Why don't I attack my opponent directly? Why do I avoid the usual back and forth of mudslinging, issue attacking, and point scoring? This is where Clausewitz comes in. Clausewitz's principle of economy of force is simple but profound. Never waste your main effort on a secondary target. Never disperse your energy across 100 battles when victory comes from overwhelming strength at the decisive point. My opponent wants me to acknowledge her, to pull me into the arena where she has the advantage. Name recognition, institutional inertia, the comfort of being the default. But the moment I engage her directly, I validate her. I accept her as the center of gravity. I allow the race to become a contest of personalities and brands, not worldviews and systems. That is a trap, and I refuse to enter it. Instead, I apply economy of force with surgical discipline. All my energy is reserved for building the future I want to invite Minnesotans into. A future of material abundance, civic belonging, and personal sovereignty. My opponent isn't the enemy. Irrelevance is. Scarcity is. Fear is. The real fight is over who gets to define what's possible. And I'm not about to waste a single ounce of effort empowering a worldview I'm here to replace. This is also why I have no fear about talking openly, laying out my plans, and even explaining my strategy in public. As a hotel janitor with no consultants and no legacy infrastructure, I'm invisible on the radar of the old order. They see nothing worth worrying about, so they do nothing to stop me. Even if they read every word, they can't counter it, because I'm not running a campaign that can be attacked head on. By the time my opponent realizes what's happened, the battlefield has shifted. The public conversation isn't about which incumbent should hold power. It's about whether we want to keep living in a world of managed decline, or if we're ready to build something better. Once the fate has done its work, I'll be ready for the disruptive phase. That's when the full force of my campaign becomes visible. By then, the groundwork is finished, the war chest is full, and the narrative has already moved on from the old binaries. My opponent is left swinging at ghosts, chasing after a script that no longer fits the stage. I'm not fighting her. I'm inviting the public into a future so compelling that the old world just fades away. And anyone can do this. Anyone. This strategy isn't locked behind privilege, consultants, or institutional access. In fact, the less entrenched you are, the more nimbly you can move. The smaller your local race, the more explosive your returns can be. There are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of small and medium-sized creators across America who could use their platforms to do exactly what I'm doing. Whether that's running for office themselves or using their narrative and organizational power to support better candidates in their districts. If you don't want to run, fine. Use your reach to build up the ones who do. But don't believe for a second that you're powerless or that the old order is unshakable. All it takes is a spontaneous, grassroots uprising from the working class, coordinated not by parties or PACs, but by people who've already built trust, who already know how to tell a story, and who are ready to move when the moment arrives. That's the heart of what I dream of for the Renaissance of Reason. It isn't about me. It's about proving, once and for all, that you don't have to wait for permission or for history to change you. You can change it right now with the tools and people you already have. If enough of us do this, it will be the uprising the Tea Party pretended to be, but real, grassroots, and for everyone. That's how you win before fighting. That's how you build a new world right beside the old one, until everyone realizes they'd rather live here.